You know when you could punch yourself full in the face? Well, I'm having one of them moments because I've just done my Wednesday Wrexham review and I've come to just clip it all together, and I realise I forgot to plug my microphone in. Just like that. You know when your heart sinks. Anyway, let's try again. Wrexham against Sheffield Wednesday. Not bad. Wednesday travelled down to the Racecourse Ground where Wrexham were looking to get their first points in the second tier since 1982. Even I had got hair back then. Wednesday, from their point of view, also looking for their first points of the season in what we know is going to be a terrifically hard season for us, with a threadbare squad with just 15 first-team professionals in it. And all the while, the Wednesday supporters hoping and praying that we can get out the ownership and move forward and have a bright future. Bright future, a little bit like Wrexham have got with their owners who are doing things the right way and building an infrastructure and a proper community club around them. Anyway, there's an interesting little thing about that as a little aside. Wednesday supporters just obviously have got their Cadamarteri out banners that they took to Leicester and trying to protest against the ownership, and they wanted to take them down to Wrexham. Now initially Wrexham said they couldn't do that, they thought it might be political, and then there was something about health and safety, and then later on it was no, that is allowed. So they allowed the Wednesday supporters just take the banners in, this order, and then followed on with that with a tweet from their co-owner, Rob McElhenney, who put out a tweet and made an offer to Wrexham supporters and Wednesday supporters, I suppose, and said this: there are 10,000 more gold shirts available. The profits from any gold shirt purchased between now and Monday will go to the Sheffield Wednesday Supporters Trust. Absolutely fantastic gesture. And amazingly, a little bit of political gesture. Not very often that owners get involved in talking about other clubs. But fantastic gesture all the same. Wednesday fans obviously have been using black and gold colours as part of their movement against the owner. I think it all goes back to it being one of our most famous away shirts during our sort of glory years of the 90s. So, ground full of black and gold. I'm sure some of the Wrexham fans were doing it in support of Wednesday, but most of them will have been doing it in support of themselves. But either way, an absolutely lovely touch from their owner and the Wrexham support. Right, the game. Let's talk about the game. That were all better when I recorded it first time. Okay, now. Wrexham went with a 3-5-2. Ward in goal, experienced international, 44 caps for Wales. A back three of Cleworth, Cody, the terrific signing, and Brunt. 5 across midfield: Longman, Dobson, Matty James, once of Barnsley I think, O'Brien and McLean. And up front, Broadhead, who we know a lot about from all our games against Plymouth in recent years, and Kiefer Moore, obviously just been let go from our neighbours down the road. It was a 3-5-2 for Wednesday as well. There was a debuting goal for Evan Horvath. I'm sure I'll get it right before end of season. A back three of Valerie, Iofa and Lowe. Midfield 5 of Palmer, Bannan, Ingleson, Kabashki and McNeil in the hole. And up front, a new partner for Bailey Cadamarteri. Ezike Ugbo comes in to replace Jamal Lowe. Opening 10 minutes or so, scrappy game I thought. There was, both teams trying to sort of work each other out. Very congested in that midfield area there, a lot of players in. And like I said, scrappy, I would say they were slightly on top, obviously the home team. Even, scrappy. A couple of impressive runs from the lad Longman on their right hand side, quite impressed with him. Although ironically they take the lead, it's about 15 minutes or so, and it's down the other side. Free kick, Valerie brought down, I think it was McLean. Cross into the box, good delivery into the box. Kiefer Moore gets up, such a big unit, what is he, 6'5", he gets up there with his shaking Stevens haircut, heads it into Iorfa's back, quick to rebound, you know, he's alert, switched on, hooks it on past keeper, there's nothing he can do about that. Dave took the lead, and you get that sinking feeling, don't you, because we know it's going to be a long season, we know it's going to be a long, tough season. But a goal behind again, and you're thinking, oh God, here we go, you know. 2 minutes after, the lad Longman again, he skips past Kabaski on that right hand side, it's far too easily for my liking. Puts a delicious cross into the box, Moore gets up, and you know, for a lad with his experience and his ability in air and his, you know, his height, it should be on target. He flashes that over bar, and really that should be 2-0. He'll be disappointed with himself there. But the goals obviously give Wrexham the lift. They're starting to, you know, push forward in numbers, and Wednesday were coming a little bit under the cosh after they'd scored the goal, to be honest with you. We stood up to a lot of it. There were a few things that made it a little bit uncomfortable. Obviously Wednesday's gone with back three, and Valerie at the sort of centre point of that, he's up against Moore. Little bit of a mismatch physically, you know. I mean, he's a towering striker. I'm not sure there's, you know, there's many that could probably deal with him in our squad, but that was tough. That was a tough afternoon for Valerie, especially in that first half. And like I said, Wrexham really starting to turn the screw after that first goal. In fact, Wednesday, I'm struggling to think. We had some bits at ball. There were some nice little bits of play at times. You know, Barry Bannan's all over the place trying to make things happen. Ingleson's putting a real shift in. But I talked about it last game. We just seemed to miss that little bit of connectivity in that last final third and putting things together. I think our first sort of meaningful shot was McNeil on about 25 minutes, half an hour. You know, he advanced up joint front two and he got a snapshot away which were deflected for the corner. But very much it were Wrexham in ascendancy, and you were hoping really, let's try and get in at break just the one goal behind. As it was, they extended the lead. A disappointing goal from Wednesday's point of view. Dobson gets through in midfield, and where Wednesday will be disappointed, I'm sure Henrik will be disappointed, is there's nobody near him. You know, he advances on. And if you think about the player stood there and, you know, a circle around him, well, that was a really wide circle. It's probably 15-yard perimeter around him before you can see a Wednesday player, you know. Advances on, cracks a shot in, straight at keeper, and that, you know, Alvarth, he'll be disappointed. He sort of pats it down forward. Moore's in, again, alert, on the ball, smashes it in, 2-0. And the keeper's going to take some stick, obviously, because it's straight at him. He's quite a big lad, though. I think maybe if he's a bit smaller, he probably gathers it in, but he sort of gets a palm to it. But how much football has he played? You know, I'm going to stick up for the lad here. You look at, I don't know much about him before we signed him, but I've had a look at his career. Obviously, his fourth choice at Cardiff or whatever it is, he's well down pecking order. But he's got decent calibre. He's played for some good clubs. You know, he's had appearances in European football, in Champions League. But when did he last play a game? You know, you can train all you want, but competitive football's a different thing. So, a little bit of rustiness, I think, in there. And we've just got to go hope that as he's playing, which he's going to play. I've heard that, you know, Charles is going to be out for 2 months, so he's going to play, and I'm sure he'll build that sharpness back up. So I'm going to stick up for laddie. You know, he's made a cock up, but it happens, and he's not played for a while. But that doesn't change the fact that it's now Wrexham 2, Wednesday 0, and you know we're up against it. In fact, Moore should probably have a first half hat trick. There's another opportunity just before break. He sort of gets threaded through into the box, and he takes an extra touch, and he gives, was it Lowe? I think it was Lowe or Valerie. Just give him enough of a sniff to be able to get in there and get a block on shot. And I think it's because he's on an hat trick that he's had that extra touch. I think if it's 0-0, I think he probably hits it first time and just swings a leg at it. But sometimes, played in it football, he knows he's on two, he's probably got headlines, going through his mind, first half hat-trick. So he has that little touch just to steady himself that little bit more because he wants to make sure, and it just gives us time to get in. I think if he swings a leg at it, I think that's probably 3-0. And at 3-0, it's game over. I mean, as it is, at 2-0, we're thinking it's probably game over, but half-time probably comes at the right time for us, and as we'll see, the changes that we made at half-time got us right back in the game. Wednesday switched things around at the break. Obviously, I'm watching on box. I didn't hear it mentioned in commentary or anything, but Wednesday had gone with a 3-5-2 in that first half. Second half, they switched to a back four. Palmer drops into right back. Lowe moves across to left back. And then we've got them two central defenders closer together in Iorfa and Valerie. I think that did us a favour to try and combat more. Obviously, you can have one attacking and one sort of sweeping in. But I think the biggest difference it made in this second half is it was McNeil moving out to the right-hand side from that position he'd taken up in the hole in the first half. I thought that was the real key. Straight after the break, there was an opportunity. McNeil put one over the bar after good work from Kabaski, who looked a lot more comfortable, playing as and operating as a proper winger rather than a left wing back. I think that's a lesson that Henrik's going to have to learn pretty sharpish, if I'm honest with you. And that Longman's a good player, but he gave Kabaski a tough time, but that's not his game, and we sort of go back to that thing with Marvin Johnson when he was first asked to do that out there, and it was, you appreciate people having to do a job for the team, but where you can help it, well, let's not, to be honest with you. He looked far more comfortable playing as a proper orthodox winger in second half. And I think Wednesday's shape full stop helped us in second half. I thought looked a lot more solid with the back four. And as I said, McNeil really, really came alive. Ike Ugbo. Obviously the striker who went a season without scoring a goal. Possibly whatever he does from now on will probably be always remembered for that in some way or other, the poor sod. And last season he looked a little bit of a shadow of informants. He looks a lot lighter to me. He looked like he'd lost a lot of weight. Now that might be the stripes on the shirt. I'm not into fashion, as you can tell. But I do gather that stripes can make you look thinner. And thinner stripes can make you look even thinner. Or was it thicker stripes? Well, whatever it is, maybe it was down to the kit. But he looked thinner this last season, just gone. This year, I think he looks like he's put a bit of that back on. He looks a bit more solid again. And he had one or two half opportunities, Ugbo, a couple of scuffers in there. But he was getting in right places. Last season, I didn't particularly think he was getting in right places. There were one or two. I mean, famously the Norwich one that hit him on head, but today against Wrexham, I thought he was getting in right places again. I thought his movement were good, and that second half again, he's dropped slightly off Cadamarteri, and it's allowed him to pick up them little pockets of space and have a little touch. And the thing is, in football, the more touches of the ball you have, the more confident you become. You build yourself into the game, you work yourself into the game, and I thought he looked better for dropping off Cadamarteri in that second half. In fact, he had a good opportunity just after the break. He got slid in. Again, a little bit like Moore's chance at the end of the first half. There's that little touch, and it just gave Brunt the opportunity. I think it was Brunt to get in and made a sliding block tackle. But a positive start from Wednesday second half. And 10 minutes later, we're back in the game. Strong tackle, I think it was from Iorfa. And for all Wednesday, you're going to struggle this season, and I talked about against Leicester and last weekend against Stoke that we've struggled with that sort of connectivity, perhaps between midfield and defence and the final ball. It was an 18-pass move that got Wednesday back in the game. I offer with a strong tackle, out to Palmer, back into Bannan, when we try and get it down left, it's closed up down right. And eventually, after 18 passes or so, the move comes back out to Palmer, who's advanced up the right-hand side from right full-back. slips the ball wide, McNeil's in there, head up, low pass into the box. Now it clips somebody, I don't know if it's Ugbo or one of the defenders, comes back out to Barry Bannan, who's advanced in, and the little deflection on the cross, a sort of wrong-footed Ward in the goal, so Bannan comes in, side foots it in, and Ward's momentum's already taken him other way, so he can't quite get to it. But 2-1, Wednesday, from looking dead and buried, very much back in the game. Wrexham's still in the game, by the way. You know, Wednesday are turning the screw looking for the equaliser, but they're still creating opportunities. The lad Longman on the right hand side really impressed me for them. But Wednesday have got a bit of a freedom to them, and I think what it is, you know, you can be tense in a football game. It's 0-0. You know it's going to be a tough season, and sometimes you get them heavy touches, you know, or you're a bit tense, you know, and a ball can come in and it can bounce off you because you haven't got that softness to your body. And I think Wednesday going 2-0 down, it brought a little bit of a shit or bust attitude to it, and I think you can relax. And I think that relaxes you a little bit. So there's the tactical change, but also Wednesday looked more relaxed, I thought, when they'd gone 2-0 down. Then they get a goal back, it lifts your spirits. And the second goal, a good play from Jamal Lowe, who'd come on as a substitute for Ike Ugbo. Now, Jamal Lowe not had the best career at Wednesday so far, a good career before he got here. And I think a lot of that goes down to where he's been played, and I talked about this the other week. You know, he's played a couple of games up front with Cadamarteri, and he's not really been at it. And Danny Rule played him up front a lot, but as I've said before, you look at his career, he's done most of his work wide or in a sort of deeper role. And he's come on the second half today and he's been playing off Cadamarteri. I think it suits him a lot more. I think he gets into some little pockets of spaces, like he does when he drifts in off the left-hand side. And when's his equaliser, he gets the ball, he goes on, and he does really well actually, because he feigns that he's going to take the shot on. And as soon as he looks like, well, I'm going to pull trigger, three of their players start converging on him. Because, you know, it's your job as a defender, isn't it? Somebody looks like they're going to get a shot away. I'm going to stop this bastard. I'm going to chuck my son in front of it. So just as they start converging, he then flicks a nice little ball out wide. McNeil's in. Again, head up, looks across, nice, low, hard pass. Cadamarteri's in there, sweeps it home first time. Wednesday, almost miraculously after the first half performance, back in the game, 2-2, and the potential to get that first point on the board. There's actually an opportunity to win it right at the death, and brilliant tackle from Max Lowe, really strong tackle in the sort of, it's a sort of inside left back position, knocks the ball forward, Cadamarteri drives on and he's got options, Fazier's on his left hand side, McNeil on right. He ploughs up the pitch because must travel 30 yards, pushing Wrexham onto the back foot. Picks Fazier out, and he does really well actually, the young lad. Puts it back across to McNeil on far side. One-on-one with a goalkeeper. I've got to be honest with you, I'm half-hearted chaired. I thought this is it. Leathers it into Danny Ward's chest, you know, and it's the final action of the game. He falls down onto his knees, absolutely gutted with himself. But he shouldn't be gutted, because that's the best I've seen from him in a Wednesday shirt. I know he's missed that chance at the end, and, you know, an opportunity to be the hero, a 3-2 win against all the odds and whatever, but I thought he was terrific that second half today. And I think it was that move from playing in the hole to moving out to right wing that really, really brought it out. He got the beating of their fullback, and he played with a real intelligence for a young lad, with a brilliant switch out to the right hand side, right outside of his boot. But what I really liked about him, his first thought is to attack. His first thought is to get towards their goal, and he did so many little turns. Now, I don't know how big he is. He don't look a big unit, you know. But he's certainly got that sort of centre of gravity. Really good on that half turn when the ball's coming in and just nudging it round corner and spinning after it, spinning man, especially when they're too tight up his arse. A couple of times he actually let it run through him and did him that way and just spun off behind. And really good at them little wall passes back into midfield and spinning without the ball for the 1-2, for the clip over or the throw ball. Really impressed with McNeil today. Would have been my man of the match. It's a tough call. I thought Barry Bannan was superb again. They put up one of them touch maps at one point. He's had touches the ball all over the park. He takes it off the back foot. He gets the passing going. He can beat a man. But he's made blocks in our box. It would be between Bannan and McNeil. I thought Bannan was great in both halves, whereas McNeil, like all the forward line, perhaps a little bit anonymous in first half. But yeah, I'll give it McNeil. It was a 45 minutes, whereas, you know, like I said, Bannon's probably done it for 90. And maybe I'm taking Bannon's quality a little bit for granted here, but for the young lad, in what's going to be a huge season for him, you know, he's having to step to play. We've lost the experience of Michael Smith, Callum Patterson, Josh Windass. And he's going to have to step in there and play to an high championship level week after week, which will be a new thing for him. And I think if he can carry on with performances like that second half, I think he can be a player for us. I really do. I thought it was terrific second half performance, and of course the 2 goal involvements in there. Great game from McNeil. But also big credit for Henrik Pedersen for changing it, you know. 3-5-2, up against it, 2-0 down, and he's come with a back 4. Dropped the lad out to right wing and come up trumps with it. But anyway, a point on the board for Wednesday. A well-deserved point. They worked the socks off. We've got a very thin squad, you know. Looking at bench today, there was only, you know, Jamal Lowe and Fizier with any sort of experience. And, you know, even Fizier's not got a lot of it. The rest of them's kids in there. So, them players in first 11 have got through an incredible amount of work without a proper pre-season. And they're going to have to do that week after week after week. And it will take its toll. There will be injuries. There will be strains in there. But I'm delighted. I'm delighted with the effort I've seen from him today. Absolutely magnificent. Point on the board. Terrific second half performance. Good to see the young lads doing well. Cadamarteri, McNeil, because, you know, they are the future of the club, really, aren't they? Nice to see Ugbo getting in them positions again, because, you know, last season I don't particularly think he did. You know, it was an hard season for him, but today, just getting in them little half opportunities, and I think he can grow from that. But yeah, very good. The keeper, I'm sure, I haven't been online, but I'm sure he's probably taking a bit of stick for the flap at the second goal. But as I said, not played a lot of football, but he looks a big unit. His feet aren't as good as young Pierce Charles, but I tell you what, a positive I did know, he's got a right throw on him. He has got a right throw on him. He's got a bit of the Pepe Reina's with that sort of wrapping arm round it, so it fizzes away to fullback with spin to keep it in. I don't want to get carried away. We've got a point away at Wrexham. You know, I've got to give things a little bit of perspective. But given the season that we know it's going to be, good performance and a terrific result for this. My first recording was far better than this. I've right fucked myself off. And next, Leeds. Be interesting to see what attendance it is for that, you know. 3,500, and they're all at Leppings Lane End. That'd be a statement, wouldn't it? Anyway, that's me done. Fucking 3:30 in the morning. I'm not wired up, me. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you for the next one.